Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. If you are new to the page, in 1990 I became involved in the drug gang world. From 92 to '06, I spent a lot of time incarcerated. I tell these stories to let you know it don't have to be you. If you're young and thinking about trying something or you're figuring out how to get out, these are my stories of this lifestyle and how it affected me, and eventually I got out and transformed my life. So let's get into today's story. So let's get right to it. As you can see by the thumbnail, this is how I finally went to prison. Now, I had been on probation in three counties, San Bernardino, Los Angeles, and Riverside, for several years now, multiple violations. And so I was finishing up a bit at rehab at Newhouse the first time. And when you would be in this program, there were stages to it. So the first 30 days you had like no contact. I think like the first 2 weeks, not even any phone. The second 30 days, like you could go out and take care of business, like if you needed to get an ID or, whatever you may need to do, court proceedings, go to the doctor, whatever. And then in the last 30 days, like you could start putting out applications so that you could move on with your life. And there would be these contractors that would come around basically for cheap labor because they knew we didn't have a lot of options. So I started off with Captain Car Wash. Yeah, your boy was washing cars. It was a mobile car wash thing, and we were going up into like Big Bear and Crestline and some of those places and just washing a ton of cars and, making a few bucks. The money was decent considering the time period, but it wasn't much. So then this guy, Joe, comes around. Not the Joe that I've talked about in previous stories. This guy was a contractor. And he would do things like concrete, framing, like all kinds of construction type of stuff. So I jumped on with him because the pay was a little bit better. So we started off doing a job up in Big Bear. And we were laying foundation, basically. We were tying the rebar and getting everything ready to lay a slab. So while I was doing this, there was this father and son, like they were with the business that were working for him, but they were still active in their addictions and alcoholism and such. So I was catching a ride with these guys up and down the hill to get to work. And as soon as we would finish, they'd crack a beer, and here we are going down this mountain road, like talk about suicidal, my God. But this is what was going on. So if you like this sort of content, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, smash that like button. And if you know someone else that enjoys this sort of content, share it to them, please. So the job in Big Bear finishes. Now there's another job in San Pedro, but I can't really drive to this one every day. So we were getting motel rooms down there. And this was a big job, several months. It was they were adding on to a house in San Pedro. It was like $1 million home back in those days. This was early 2000s. And the contractor was shady as hell. He was we would get a personal check every week, and we would go to the check cashing place, and we'd get paid $1,000 a week, but we had to kick back $300 to him. And he was using, like, construction sites aren't really the greatest place for people that are new in recovery, but it was work. So we found this motel that rented by the week, and I was in communication with the wife, and I brought the wife down and the kids. And things were going well. Things were going real well. I wasn't using anything. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I was pretty happy. I mean, I was working a ton of hours, leaving the house or leaving the motel room at the butt crack of dawn, and uh, not getting home until well after dark. But I was happy. My family was back together. I was working, and I was taking care of my probation needs, checking in, doing everything that I needed to do. Excuse me. So apparently, there's a law down there that after 30 days, you establish residency and they have to evict you. So at 30 days, they told us we had to move out. And I checked all over the place. This was in Wilmington. So I was checking all over the place, trying to find another long term spot, but I couldn't find any. So my wife and the kids had to go back home to her mom. And I was back to staying in the group room basically with the crew. And this kind of put me into a depression. I wasn't happy about this. Started drinking a little bit, stopped checking in with the probation officers, and I was spiraling out of control. I was feeling desperate, and basically I went and I scored a sack in hopes of coming up quickly so that I could find a place to rent and bring the wife and the kids back. But that wasn't going to be in the cards. So, I continued to work, but now I got this sack and it ain't really moving, and I'm an addict. I mean, the thing is, I can't be around that stuff. To this day, I won't allow myself to be around that stuff. Not that I'm afraid that I'm going to use, but why take the chance? Sobriety is a precious thing, and I'm not going to do anything to risk that, even though I've got 18, 19 years under my belt already. I don't keep company with people that do that sort of stuff anymore. And, my sobriety is far too important. So, I picked up that sack to sell. Now I'm using it. And the homie that I'm catching a ride to work with, he was all into NA at that time. And he thought he knew it all, but what he didn't realize was that I was using. And one night on the way home from work, his car broke down. He had like a little Nissan Sentra or something, a newer one at that time. And his car broke down. So we're on the side of the road trying to figure out what we're going to do. And an LA County sheriff comes rolling up to check on us. Well, he gets to running names, and my name comes up as wanted. I'm wanted by the LA County Probation Department for a probation violation, which triggered probation violations in San Bernardino and Riverside as well. So now I'm heading to jail, and it really broke my heart because, I thought I had it this time, and I allowed situations to make excuses for me to, get another sack, thinking that even though I didn't have any customers or anything, that I could sell the stuff. And, I was selling a little bit, but not enough to get a house or something. So, yeah, they ran my name, and I had some in my sock. And they took me into custody. They cuffed me up, put me in the car, and they were getting ready to take me to, LA County. Well, I think they took me to Long Beach that time, and then I got transferred to LA County the next day. But before we left, I told the officer that, I had something in my sock and we needed to get it out because it's a whole new charge once you're in a correctional facility. And that ended up being the straw that finally broke the camel's back with things. Although, when I ended up in court, they tried to give me another county lid. And I told them, nah, you know what? 3 probation officers and everything, it's getting to be a bit much. I said, what are we looking at? Could we just do a prison term and have 1 parole officer and be done with this? And he looked at me like I was crazy. But, he told me, he said, well, we can do 2 years with half, and that'll get rid of everything else. So that's what I ended up signing for. And, this is just, if you are new into sobriety, this is something to keep in mind. The disease of addiction will play with your head and tell you that it's okay, you can do these kind of things, but you really can't, Like, it took me several times before I finally got it right, but thank God I finally did. As I usually say, family, fitness, and freedom are what helped me to get things right. And, it's just a matter of making the right choices and continuing to make the right choices. Before, I never thought about the consequences of what my choices could bring. When I went to rehab, they told me something that really stuck with me. They said, you have to play the tape all the way through. And what they mean by that is, if you're thinking about doing something, you have to think, what are the possible consequences, and are you willing to accept the consequences that come with your action? And if you're not, then you probably shouldn't do that. So, that's my story for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you are new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe, smash that like button, drop a comment, tell me what your experiences have been like, and share this video to somebody that may enjoy it. Don't look at the mountain, just start climbing.